Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. I have a request from the Lions Club to do with the cafeteria upstairs. And I'm not sure whether to put it into new business or if it would be a notice of motion. That's why I'm asking, yeah.
Kendra, where would you suggest we put that?
Have they asked you for something, or are you just bringing it up as a topic of conversation? Yeah, then that's new business is fine.
New business.
Yep.
All right, so then motion in order. Agenda circulated from the Lions Club and the cafeteria. Dr. Meyer, Joy, Joshua, all in favor? Motion carried. Delegations and presentations are very quick award today. Award and
Thank you, Mayor Mayhew, and thank you, Council, for making time for us on your agenda. It's really very nice to be able to come back and visit in person. This year is the first year since COVID that we're actually getting out in person. So personally, I've driven by and seen outsides of a lot of the council chambers and the facilities, but I've never been inside, as I was explaining earlier. So thank you for having us. As we are going through everything, we're all facing new changes, new realities and changes in demographics and plans and so forth. So today's presentation is focusing on highlights of some of the things that we've been doing. And we'll walk us through all of the news and relevant updates and point out some of the things that we're going to be tackling in the future. So I'll hand it over to him and take it away, Bill.
Oh, thanks, Alan. I was driving here, and I just want to start with a story before I do this presentation. I was thinking, why am I so excited for this presentation? We've done a lot of them. We only have one more really to do local, but I was excited for this one for a lot of reasons. One is so many friends. Ina's right. We haven't seen some people in person in a long time. We've been doing an incredible amount of virtual stuff. But this is a real chance to get out and like shake hands and see how Martin's beard's going and all these kinds of things, and just see people in person. And, so many friends we haven't seen in a while that around this table, but, Donnie and I have been friends for 25 years. Martin and I have. Jody and I have worked and been friends for a long time. New friends too. So it's fantastic to be here with you folks. And the other reason I'm excited is because you guys ask great questions. Martin always asks me the same one. What are you doing for agriculture? Donnie asked me something about Melbourne. Michael asked me something else. And they're great questions. And I think the questions that we get down here signify something else. Another reason why I'm excited. There's a passion for municipal government in this room and in this community that comes through. And we don't always agree about how to do things, but we always agree that we're going to work in the best interest of the residents. And that's exciting as well. And then finally, the other reason I was excited to come here is because there's two municipalities that don't tell everybody else that are kind of my favorites because they signify what Middlesex County really is all about. That transition from rural to small urban, the challenges that are happening there, residential development, protecting agriculture, and that's North Middlesex, I think, and Southwest. It really is a lot of the policies and work that we've been doing over the last 2 decades really are about these types of communities that are transitioning from rural to small urban, and kudos to all the work that you've done down here to make this such a great community. So that's why Ina and I are both excited to be here. And we're glad to talk to you about what's going on with the county. But I wanted to start with that because I think there are some really amazing things happening in Southwest Middlesex and in communities like this in the county. And there are some communities in the county that will be successful just by geography. You know, Middlesex Center is always going to be doing great, and Thames Center is always going to be doing great. But the passion that you guys put into everyday decisions down here really is evident to our whole team, and we really appreciate the work that you're doing and enjoy the collaboration with your staff and with council. And certainly, Mayor, you do a fantastic job of bringing forward to county council and to the staff all the challenges that you see and where we can be helpful. I can really sum up these slides for you pretty quickly. I don't know how much time we have, but I do want to make sure that I leave time for lots of questions, Alan. But the first slide really is we're in a fantastic fiscal position. This is the one about the budget highlights. Catch up to me there. Or whoever's moving the slides. Kendra, oh yeah, you're in charge, of course. I knew that. We're in a fantastic financial position. It's not by luck and it's not by good fortune. Council's really done an amazing job of making business decisions, and they've done a very good job of that consistently what I would call fiscally conservative business decisions over the past 25 years. And I'm really proud of the work that they've done in that regard. What it's meant is we're the envy of every other county in Southwestern Ontario when it comes to reserves, when it comes to tax rates, and when it comes to debt. We virtually have zero. That's what this slide's trying to say. And this year was another great indicator of how we've been able to, we didn't use any reserves or any reserves this year to help balance this budget off, and manage to keep what I would say is a relatively tame, considering the amount of change that's happening in this county, tax rate increase of 2.93%. And there really is a lot of change. And I said I could sum this up in a couple sentences. One is we're in a great fiscal situation. The other is we're changing so fast. And how are we changing? Ina kind of talked about it a little bit yesterday at Municipal Day. It's on the polar extremes of our demographic. Our younger demographic, sort of that family with one child or under 30, that demographic is just going gangbusters across all of Middlesex County. And then the more senior population is growing fast too. The folks that are moved, so that the younger group are maybe moving to the county for affordability, maybe a little bit more room, and still in close proximity to whatever jobs that they're working at. The senior population are often moving in this direction because they sold some big house somewhere else and want to downsize or buy their McMansion. In many municipalities, we have multi-million-dollar homes that are out there available, and so their dream home is there. And these two demographics, when you look at what the county does, those two demographics are really what drives service demand. Like everything from ambulance to nursing homes to libraries to social services to social housing. It doesn't matter what service you look at. Those are the demographics that drive service demand, and our service demand is through the roof. And so we have to do things differently because a lot is changing. And it's not only changing in terms of the service requirements, it's changing in terms of our economy. And our economy is changing very quickly. Not only it wasn't that long ago, Alan, we were down here with you and others doing resident attraction workshops. Now we have places of this size in the county that are doubling in size overnight. There's planning applications in Elsa Craig and in Park Hill and other communities like that to double in size literally overnight. And we're kind of being run over. And there was a time when we were down here going, how do we save communities like this so that schools stay here, banks stay here, grocery stores stay here? And kudos to everyone around the table for making that happen, because now I think that you're poised to be a regional center for this area that can not only attract residents, but support the businesses in the community and support businesses in this region, which is exciting. But we have to do things differently. There's no question that we are having a struggle attracting industrial assessment. We are really great with assessment in all the other categories, but industrial assessment, our profile does not look great. There's lots of reasons for that. But one of the things that we're looking at is creating an economic development corporation that would be a partnership between the local municipalities and the county as a regional economic development group. So that is a report that's coming forward to council soon, and we're pretty excited about it. We know we can't continue to do what we're doing in economic development, which has been tourism, small business focused, and also secondary agribusiness focus for a long time. We can continue to do those things and continue to get the same results. We need to keep doing those things, but add on top of it a new layer and really professionalize that group. And we could talk more about that if you want. Development charge is just a matter of, if you look out with the crystal ball about where we're headed in terms of growth, it's staggering how much growth is happening across this county. Fastest growing region in Canada. And we're seeing it every day. Just come up to the planning department where they're, looking at new applications every day, and development charges has to be part of that. We've had a history in this county of pay as you go. You need a new bridge, you need a new 4-lane at Glendon Drive, you need new something, we would pay for it in that year. The amount of growth that's happening, the amount of development that's happening, that's an impossible task to keep up. And it's not a fair task. We're going to use municipal economic theory to say the cost of an 80-year bridge should be spread across 80 years, not on a single year or two of taxpayer. And development charges is about helping people understand that growth should be paying for this growth. And because we're going to get overrun with growth in this county, we already are. It's happening very, very quickly. County loan program was the very first report I worked on when I first started at the county. It came out of the restructuring that happened with the City of London, and we received, I think it was $10 million or $8 million at the time, and what to do with that money. Well, I decided that we needed to replace the residential assessment that we lost, so we created this loan program that was very successful. Some would argue it was too successful with the amount of growth we had in residential. It needs to be refocused now, and it needs to be refocused on long-term assessment diversification. That's a fancy Paul Shipway word, a group of words that really means we need more industrial assessment, and we need to invest in how we get more of that. So the county loan program report is also something that's coming up in the near future. So there's a few other slides here that talk about a look ahead to what's going on in economic development. Some regular stuff in terms of social services, some new things that are happening with homeless prevention. Middlesex County Connect is another thing we're really proud of. There was workshops that were held in this community and other communities around talking about how could we possibly get a transit system in place. The demographic that we're supporting now necessitates some sort of program, and this is sort of our toe in the water towards this. It's not the end result we want, but it's a start. And so that's an important program to know more about as well. I talked about planning and planning and development. It's incredible just how fast these applications are growing. It's happening at a pace I've never seen, and it's happening in places that you wouldn't expect it. It's not always just happening in our sort of 3 main urban centers. It's happening everywhere. I was, even in our smallest municipalities like Newbury, it's happening. So this is really exciting, but at the same time, it's also a challenge to make sure we're protecting farmland, to make sure that we're growing the right way, growing responsibly, so that we don't just paper over everything with houses and not have the services to keep up with the demand that's at our doorstep. There's some more things there. I said that Dirk must have been involved in creating this because there's like 2 full slides on planning and development. So I think he somehow got into the computer and got all this stuff here, but you can read about all the other exciting things that are happening in planning. One of the things I'm really excited about, I'll put my CAO hat on, not sort of my CAO politician type hat on for a second. And I'm really, as a manager, I'm ecstatic about how we've been able to create different succession levels at the county. And in our planning group, Alan, I know you have been along for this ride with me for a while. We've created an amazing team of planners that are demographically diversified, that can support us for the long term. And this is something that has been a goal of mine, is to create, a group in their 30s, a group in their 40s, a group in their 50s, so that the ideals and principles that we've established and how we're organizational memory can last well beyond, my time at the county. And certainly I'm really proud. I meet with the planning group once a month, on Friday mornings. And I think they're a really good exemplification of not only how we've diversified our workforce, but also how we've decentralized our workforce. And we can talk about the decentralization project, but getting people out. I had a question here, I think about 10 or 12 years ago, that actually got me thinking more about the decentralized project, about how we can get people into the community, how we can support communities like this. And you may think that the questions don't lead to anything, but I mean, those questions about, hey, we're a small municipality and maybe we don't want to always have a group of planning consultants working for us. Maybe we want to share planners amongst us. That leads to the local planning initiative. IT. We have these challenges. You know, you talk to the CAO, you talk to the local politicians. We have these challenges with IT that are coming up. Now we support with local IT solutions. Everything that we're doing really is in support of making sure that we have strong municipalities and a strong region. And if we're ever falling short of that, I want you to ask me a question about it, because that leads to the next set of policy decisions. And when it comes to MLPS, this is something I really need this community to pay attention to. You're engaged a lot in advocacy. One of the programs, I'm the CEO, as the other job I have as a CEO of MLPS. And I talk about the community paramedicine program all the time. Anytime you're in front of any minister, anybody at the provincial level, you need to brag about the community paramedicine program for communities like this that are, I know you have the hospital program in Newbury, but for communities like this that are further afield and have a lot of folks that stay in home longer and live in their home while they're aging, the community paramedicine program, my mother's a client, is a fantastic program for those that want to stay in their home longer and are a little more distant from the traditional medical services that you would see. This is a program the province is expanding and should be expanding, but learn more about it, because this is, as emergency rooms close, as medical family doctors become harder to get, community paramedicine is really important to communities of this size and will be for a while. The other thing that's really interesting, and Ina mentioned it just briefly yesterday, you know, you've been around a long time when you can say this. When I first started, the entire county budget, the entire program, you know, it was before provincial downloading. The entire county program was much, much, much smaller than just the MLPS system we have now. It had a lot less employees than just that one department. It had a lot less budget than just that one department, which just tells you how fast this county is growing, and also how fast we are absorbing services that are being handed to us by the province. And so that's the other thing I'd say about MLPS is, you know, you think around about other services you may be familiar with, but think about that. It's that service alone of the 30 some services we deliver is bigger than the county as a whole whenever we started, bigger than a lot of municipalities in the county now. And it's bigger than the health unit in budget and employees. And that's another one that you would say, oh my goodness, is it really bigger than that? It's grown exponentially in a hockey stick style ever since well before COVID, just with the growth in demographics that we've seen in this area. The library got a couple of shout outs in there. You can read about that. And then they've got some slides here about just some of the things we're supporting in Southwest Middlesex. As I mentioned, the decentralization and the work that the planning group has been doing here, I think is noteworthy. The IT solutions that we've been able to work on together, I think, are noteworthy. And then there's also some work there, some mentions about what's happening at the Glencoe Library and the work that's going on there. So, Alan, I just want to save enough time for questions because I know there will be some.
Yeah, thank you, Bill, very much, and thank you, Ina. It's a great overview of the county. I'm sure there will be questions. The chair will entertain any. I'm looking for hands. Yes, Councillor Bink.
Yes. So Bill, what about they're looking for more homes? Is the severance idea going to change at all for the county? For instance, right now you sever a house off a farm, you can no longer build on the remaining, it could be 99 acres. And, you know, the provincial government and the federal government is looking for more houses.
Yeah, that's a political question, but I don't think you want that.
Okay, well, we have had a number of times. So we have seen, you know, the proposal the province put in place to have the 4 lots off of there was one thing that we saw. I think from an administrative perspective, I'll say this. We have to be careful about unintended consequences of that. I'm a big believer in multi-residential. I'm a big believer in affordability, and some of those solutions are part of that. but some of them aren't. And then I have to think, what I think about when I sit in my chair, Martin, is house, people, okay, but are the supports and infrastructure available around to support that kind of sprawl's too strong of a word, but it can lead to sprawl, and it can also lead to some degradation of agricultural properties. And what does it mean for, you know, those roads? And what does it mean for libraries? And what does it mean for all those other things? And what does it mean for growth boundaries? Those are the things I think about. And I'll admit that administratively, I was happy to see the province back down on that policy, because whenever we started to map that out and look at what that looks like across the county, oof, that was a lot, and that was a big challenge. So from my perspective, what I would love to see is growth that goes up a bit more. You know, the OFA, and Crispin is a friend of probably both of ours. He talks a lot about the impact of sprawl on agricultural land, and the ability for that to, like, it still is our, despite all the growth we've had residentially, it still is our number one land use is agriculture, our number one economic driver. And we can't afford to have that either. So it's a delicate balance, but I know the demand is out there for houses, especially those types of houses. But I do worry about the servicing impact. And then Ina wants to say this.
Bill said it all. The only thing I was going to mention was that the Ontario Federation of Agriculture was a really strong supporter, along with the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, and pushing to not allow the multiple, was it 3 per?
3 or 4, yeah.
Yeah, 3 per farm. And they just looked at the impacts on roads, school buses, hospitals, all the rest. The push is to go up and use that land really well and preserve the farmland.
Any follow-up at all, Martin?
Don't give
Okay.
him that chance, Alan.
Yeah.
He'll
Yes.
call me. He'll call me tonight. Don't worry.
Councilor Choi, go ahead, please.
Thank you. That was a great presentation. For the County Connect, it doesn't come to this area. Is there future plans to allow our residents to take advantage of that?
Ina knows more about it than I do, so we'll let her. What I know is this. This is, as I stated, this is not our end goal. This is a toe in the water. I'll tell you what I'm frustrated about, and then I'll answer your question. I'm frustrated that at Queen's Park, it seems like everything is a one-size-fits-all option when it comes to community transportation initiatives. So I've never believed, I've sat in a lot of workshops, I've never believed that the solution for Middlesex, even with our rapid growth in residential, is to run a big bus down a lonely road for places between places. I never saw that as the model that would actually work in this region. I saw a different model, and there are other regions that are doing different models as pilot projects. But the only model that will be funded currently by the province is this sort of antiquated model. So what we're trying to do is use this as proof of concept. It's entirely that. Can we show that there's enough growth here that these routes make sense, and that the province will give us latitude and flexibility to design a bit more of a hybrid system, one that may involve microtransit as opposed to just big buses doing big things. The challenge you have is that you're talking to people that are primarily all Toronto-based people and don't necessarily always understand what Bill's talking about when I say that's not going to work for long-term, sustainable, efficiently in our region. But they're getting there. And so we are advocating hard on a bunch of different fronts. One, the demand is there and the need is there. We see that in our vulnerable society, the section of our society. So who's our vulnerable folks? The early employed, the people that are just newly employed, students and seniors to medical appointments. We're seeing that demand grow really, really well, even with the antiquated approach that we're using to try and prove the concept. So my dream is we sit down at the table with the province in the spring and say, we've proven this as a concept. Now we need to do it differently and expand. And Ina has this to add to that.
It's true, but there are at least 4 projects that are going across the province. Norfolk has got one. Like, they're all different, and some have the app, some have book it, and then they'll come, or that kind of thing. So to Bill's point, there isn't a one size shoe that
shouldn't be.
fits all, but at the same time, the best alternative is probably a combination of a bunch of stuff. So right now, I think the route that's going, the new one, number 3 from Dorchester to London, and then on to St. Thomas, that might be a dedicated route, given volumes of people who may use it to go into school from St. Thomas or from Dorchester and London to Wilton Grove or to work at the plant in St. Thomas, right? But not everybody's got that kind of setup. So it's going to take some work. My biggest fear is that they'll say, oh, well, you know what? We'll start the funding and then we'll stop or something like that. So you're on your own again. I'm so tired of downloading. Don't even get me started.
Well, we can't, like, I think the thing is now, I would never sit in front of council now and say we can stop. Like, we'll have to go it on our own if they're not going to do it with some version of this. Because otherwise economic development stops. Like, how many times do we have conversations with employers that say, oh my goodness, this is the only way I can get, even yesterday at Municipal Day, the fellow talked about, I can't do this because my employees are around the London area and I can't get them there. I have to shut down. So if we want economic development, we want growth, we want all those things that we are becoming, it's mandatory.
And at the other end of the demographic, you've got the young people who are able to stay at home and attend university or college and not pay for an apartment that doesn't exist in London, which is another big benefit. So it's a win-win for both ends of the demographic spectrum.
And we're really proud of the group, Alan, just a shout out to them that are championing this project, both politically and employee-wise. Starting a program from scratch against overwhelming odds is not easy, but they've stuck with it. They've marketed the heck out of it. They're trying very hard to get that foothold. And I don't think they're going to let it go either. They're passionate about it and they're ready for the next phase.
Thank you. And thank you for that question, Councillor Choi. I mentioned my displeasure at times of being left out of the transportation system. I have said that, but I agree with Bill that, yeah, I don't think it's the right fix for this area. I know I have talked to taxi cab companies in London who say, you know, we have no problem running taxis in your area, but it's the downtime that we have. And when I look at the amount of money that's being subsidized for this transportation system, you know, hypothetically, you could pay the downtime to a cab company and pay them $10,000 and give them a back office in the municipal building, and you could service an area. And I think that the vision has to be like that for rural. It's on-demand transportation is what people want. They don't want to watch a clock. But I appreciate the questions, and I hope someday I won't feel left out of that conversation.
Microtransit definitely is the answer for rural and smaller. There's no question. And there's a way to do it. We just have to convince the province to fund it as well. So we'll get there.
Good. And go ahead, Martin.
I have a question in regards to Middlesex County Library. And my question is, I'm not necessarily in favor of this tails and trails. I'm not sure we're getting a lot for our dollars, but right now it's located at Strathmore Park. And I go by there all the time. There's hardly anyone ever there. So and I stick up in the rural areas, but it should be maybe in the refurbished area of Simpson Park. We're refurbishing that area. And so that more people would have use of it.
Okay, we'll take that feedback back, Martin. That's great.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nope, I can give
Yeah,
you additional information should you require it, Bill.
Yeah.
Yes, Councillor Haggett.
Yeah, can you give us and the ratepayers an update on 109 and 14 lights, just so they know?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, well, that is the answer. They are coming. I know that I was talking to Chris on the way down and making sure that we've given the updated schedule, Alan, to somebody here. We'll find out where. We'll make sure everybody has it. But the schedule is that we're planning on having all that equipment purchased and all that work to be done in the fall. And that's what the current schedule is. So we're ranked them. It kind of got fitted in, as you know. It wasn't in our original schedule, got fitted in. And we're ranking them based upon, you know, a bunch of different priorities. But yes, it is coming. It is happening. A lot of advocacy by the group down here for that. So that's great. That's the way the process is supposed to work. And if anything changes to that, Jody, then I'll make sure we get you that.
Yes, Deputy Mayor Schuldice.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. Just wanted to thank Bill for the presentation. A lot of very interesting information back in a short time there. Wondered if we could get an update on Melbourne intersection as well.
Yeah, Donnie asked me about this one all the time. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So are we talking about the light, or we're talking about the whole intersection? Yeah. Very good. This is something that has been, well, Don and I really were talking about it yesterday. We talked about that, and we talked about another really big challenging problem, and that is that Easton Cowan claims that he's from Mount Bridges, and we all know that it's Melbourne. But we'll solve that problem another day. We'll talk to the OHL about that. I'll talk to Larry about it too. But getting back to the Melbourne intersection, I know that what the challenge is there is that there is not only some municipal work, local municipal work that has to be done there, but also a bigger county initiative that has to happen there. And so I know that prior to, I guess my last update on that was around February or March. The intent was to sit down and talk to the public works directors of both about what the timelines and what the strategy would be there. There's no question that something needs to happen there, and that the sight lines need to be improved and a lot of work needs to be done there. It is on the priority list for our engineering department. I don't have anything to announce, but that's likely because there's a transition happening with public works in many respects in the Strathroy Caradoc. That would be partner to that because that's where the line is, but also Morrow and Strathroy and Chris need to get together. But I know that is a priority subject and needs to be figured out. I was down there today and I've been down there many times, and I think everybody's in agreement administratively that we need a new plan for that intersection for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, the traffic on that intersection has increased substantially for people obtaining fuel too. The traffic counts are much greater than they have been in the past. Thank you for those questions, Council. We have other things to accomplish today. Is there anything else? Any other questions? We don't want the opportunity to slide by. Yes.
One quick,
Yeah.
if I could. When do you approve your budget? Is it the same time every year? And do the member municipalities generally approve theirs before or after yours?
Okay. That's a multifaceted answer, but I'll tell you this. I'll start here and then we'll get to your answer. So we've been moving up our date consistently over the past couple of years for budget deliberations. So we're starting earlier and earlier because we want to be able to give indications earlier and earlier to local municipalities. That does create some havoc because most of our relationships financially are provincial, and they often don't have answers for us about ambulance funding, for example, until later in the cycle, like the March or sometimes even August. So that's not helpful. But we have been backing, I guess the right word would be backing up our date consistently of when we start having budget discussions. And I think we're kind of at the sweet spot now where we start in that time period of late October administratively, November and December politically. And this year we really could have had our budget completed and done in that January time period quite easily. In my view, we were at our number in that mid-January time period, in my view, and not a lot changed between then and the time it actually got passed. And your question was when it gets passed, but I was telling the local CAOs what I thought the number would be at our meeting in January and giving them an indicator and certainly council too of that. I thought it was going to be in that 3 to 5 range, and it ended up a slightly lower whenever council finalized it. And generally, so I'm thinking that consistently from that going forward, we're going to be able to do it where we give you that indication in January, but it might get passed earlier, like in February, because it just was too much of a delay this time, once and for all. But that indicator in January is what you really need. And then as far as local municipalities, it's all over the map. Most municipalities, I think, are done right around that same time period, in that March time period. Some are done much earlier, some are done much later. It just depends, and it changes from year to year. Like even for us, there are significant challenges whenever, for example, if the province, this is maybe too complicated of an explanation, but if the province went to a 2-year lag in how they pay for ambulance instead of a 1-year lag, the impact on the county taxpayer would be massive. And Bill would be scrambling. I'd be losing more hair than I am now, trying to figure out how we can keep it affordable. Because just that one decision by which happened 1 year, they said they were going to do it in August, changed their mind. We had to scramble. So it's all depends because there are so many different variables that are outside our control at the county level that it could mean you have to go back and rethink everything. This year, I'll tell you what we rethought in its entirety. We spent 80% of our time, I would say, Ina, on public works and engineering, just rethinking how we're going to do infrastructure going forward, rethinking how we're going to do development charges, rethinking everything from soup to nuts all the way down, thinking about the budget for public works. And that was a very, very good exercise. And so it just depends, but that's my general answer. February, we start in late October, get indication in that January, February time period, finalize in March. Hopefully that'll be February next year.
Thank you.
Well, just to add to that, the numbers are big. Our budget is in excess of 160 million, I believe. And when you look at the paramedic MLTS, we're looking at over 60,000 there, the budget.
Or 60 million, you mean?
60 million rather.
Yeah.
And Strathmere Lodge is around 30 million. So it all adds up.
Yeah.
Those two components are huge.
Yeah, and when you look at our capital and everything else, it's bumping up over 200 million. So it's well over that if you look at sort of capital expenditures as well. So it's a long ways. When I started, it was pre-90, it was in 98 before the province had loaded social housing and ambulance and everything else. I signed up for a much different job than what it is now. And it has gone along, and then the growth that has happened in services is just amazing in this time period. It's been a good window on the world of what's happened.
Good. Last call. Yes, Martin.
Thank you, Mayor. What about the culverts along, I know Joey's been involved with that. What
He
about
dug them today.
What about the culverts along Longwood Road? Some of them have concrete savings and the water can't get through. Are they going to be checked out?
Well, they will be now. I'll check them out on the way home, but I also, I'll get you an answer, Martin. No problem.
Okay. Thank you. Good questions. Well, again, I want to thank Warden DeVete very much for coming and bringing your sidekick here along with you.
Appreciate
Bill, it's always a joy to see you. I appreciate your delivery, and your mannerisms are very good. Almost big business, but you have a calming influence to get us through this. So
exciting times ahead, Mayor, and it's really, I think this is a spot where you're going to see lots of that excitement, and we're pretty excited about that future.
Good. Thank you. Wish you both well. Well, Jeff, we'll pick this up at the consent agenda. I'll read these quickly. If you wish to withdraw any, council, just bring them to my attention and we'll put them under new business. The minutes are there. Council meeting minutes, fire committee meeting minutes, and the Southwest Middlesex fire report. I'd like to thank Chief Johnson for that. That was well done. Municipal office renovation of 50,000. That includes taxes. There were questions about that, and the information is now before you. Middlesex London Health Unit board summary of April 18th, and correspondence letter to the mayor from the Minister of Agriculture and Food, and Southwest Middlesex vouchers are there at 746,000. Council, I'll give you a minute to digest that, and I'll call for a motion to accept the consent agenda as circulated. Yes, Councillor Vink.
Alan, I was just wondering if we could ask Gary a little bit about the Southwest Middlesex fire report.
I think that's a good question. Yep.
So it looks like full calls is 13. Is that down from other years?
I believe that's typical for the first quarter. Usually things are pretty slow. That's not very many calls compared to what we normally get. So I think it is down from what we have had in years before on that first quarter, but every year is different.
I think too, Chief Johnson, weather has a lot to do with that. And we had a very mild winter this winter, and that would reduce, both tragedy and incidents. Yeah. Okay, that warm weather may continue for a while too, from the news today. Any other questions? The chair will entertain a motion then to accept the consent agenda as circulated. Councillor Choi, seconder for that, please. Councillor Vink, all in favor? Carried. Committee of Adjustment, Jeff, I understand we have none. Kendra, if I miss anything, just advise the chair. Public meetings, none. Council, we're on staff reports. And we'll hand it over tomorrow to speak about the Execulink telecom transmitter request. Or who's doing that? Are you doing that, Jeff?
Actually, I'd like to see Morrow do it if he would do it.
He's shaking his head, so you guys are gonna have to make a very tough decision right now, okay? That
Morrow's been picking at me today. It would be
Yeah.
sweet justice if you would all insist that he present this report.
yeah, well, you have to do it in harmony, then both of you, okay? So
Okay.
Morrow, you start off.
Tell you what, Morrow, I'll take it for you, okay? But you owe me.
Okay.
Thanks. That was a very nice misunderstanding. I appreciate that. The report was circulated with the council agenda package. I just want to highlight that this transmitter is currently located on the grain leg that is at the Solio or the former Solio site. And if you've been out in that area, and I went out and drove around a couple times because early in my tenure here, I was contacted by Execulink and said there are no other options in the area for a location for this transmitter. And I thought Perth County was flat, but then I take a drive around here and it's flatter. So, and there are really not a lot of options. The transmitter that's there, the Execulink product that they're putting through that transmitter, there's a lot of people in the community use it. I think we're certainly wise to work with Execulink to get it relocated to the Melbourne Water Tower. They've done a site visit and confirmed that there's space. They working through logistics around hydro ability and things like that. And they're working with the Strathroy Caradoc Police Services on the transmitter that they have to make sure there's no interference. So there's lots of bandwidth available. It's actually, in this case, Execulink that's going to have to change their bandwidth to work for what's already being used, and they're quite prepared to do that. And as I said, it benefits a number of members of our community and those across the municipal boundary. And that's really their main choice until we get more fiber. This transmitter may become redundant in 3 or 4 or 5 years as more fiber becomes available. It's not an ideal internet solution for those that are getting it, but it is making up that last mile at this point in time. And it's an important part of that community. I'm recommending that council provide approval in principle today, and that I will return to the May 22nd meeting with the details of the agreement to implement the installation of the transmitter.
Okay. Council, you've heard the report. Any questions to Jeff or Morrow? Yeah, I think Jeff reiterated the words, the last mile is referred to those who are on the periphery of internet service, and we need broadband until that fiber becomes available to them. The recommendation is before you, and it's instructing administration to proceed to achieve an agreement with Execulink and bring it back to council. Is there a mover and a seconder? Councillor Myers, thanks. Councillor McCollum, discussion? All in favor? Carried. Okay. Public Works, surface treatment tender results. Morrow, would you like to apprise council of that?
Yes, this report is actually mine. I would have had troubles doing the last one.
Yeah.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, before council's report for surface treatment, also known as tar and chip. We received 3 bids. All 3 tenders were in compliance with our municipal or procurement goods policy. The recommended bid is the lowest tender and within budget. Just so council knows, I did meet with the Miller Group at the Good Roads Conference. They understand that Southwest Middlesex may have some concerns towards their company because of the previous job that they did. They're very eager to have this opportunity again and gain the confidence of Southwest Middlesex. I also emphasize to the Miller Group that Southwest Middlesex staff will have a greater presence on site if the tender is awarded to the Miller Group. So staff's recommendation is to award the Miller Group the tender because they are the lowest tender and they do meet the requirements of the policy. And I'm also here to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you, Maurel, for that. Council, any questions you'd like to pose? Maurel, there's 3 targeted sites involved in that particular program. Could you define those particular geographical locations as well? I believe there's 3.
Yes, I can. I'm just bringing up, bear with me for a second. So there was Trillium Drive, which is just off of Dundonald Road to Tates Road. Then there's Pratt Siding from Concession Drive to Centerville, and then Pratt Siding from Longwoods to Trillium.
Good. Thank you very much for defining that. Yes, go ahead, Councilor McGill.
Yeah, through the mayor to Morrow. I don't think Trillium is hard surfaced all the way to Tates. Is it just the part that's hard surfaced now that's going to be done with this redone?
Yeah, correction. You're correct. Just the existing surface that it's hard surface. I think it worked out to 1.4 kilometers of road that will be hard surfacing.
Okay. Okay, last call. Yes, Deputy Mayor, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm just appreciate that Maurel mentioned that our staff will be on site regularly to monitor this, and I'll approve the recommendation.
Okay, thank you, Deputy Mayor Schuldeis. Seconder for that, please. Yeah, Councilor Haggett. Discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Okay, Maurel, thank you very much for that. We have HC for finance. Who will be giving? I'm looking for Kristen. She's not on the screen. She's not here. Who's going to give that? Maurel? Jeff, give me some guidance here.
Certainly. The report was prepared by Kristen, and Kristen had to be away this week, and Kendra should be away too, but she snuck out of the session that she was supposed to be at to come back and help me with this today and us. So thanks. The report's was sent to council in advance in the package. There's elements of this report that could be answered by the managers in the room. So perhaps if you want to move into if there's any questions, and then we've got Kevin and Maurel here, and Gary, I guess, to answer any questions that there might be.
Okay, we all know Kristen has talents of moving money around, so we have every confidence in a recommendation. Kevin, would you like to speak to this and how it involves recreation?
Sure.
You take it, your choice.
The first part there with the start of my report was with the daycare with the drainage issue. We're looking to reallocate some of the funds from the deep fryer for the arena to get the downspouts and the drainage issue with the daycare taken care of. I've had multiple talks with the director there, and she's had multiple talks with, I guess, disgruntled parents that the kids are constantly coming home covered in mud because all the downspouts drain right into the playground and there's no grass there anymore. It's just solid mud. So I'm looking to, like I said, reallocate the funds to get the drainage issue taken care of, and the daycare has said that they would replace where all the mud is now that the grass isn't. They have pricing on some artificial grass that they put down for the kids to actually play on. But before they do that, I recommended that the drainage be taken care of first.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that, I've received calls on that myself and forwarded the concerns to you, over the last year. And it's unfortunate and, sure, we all realize the importance of it. Are there any questions you'd like to direct to Kevin in regard to that? Yeah, there's a couple here. Kevin, Deputy Mayor, first, please.
Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. Just wondered if we could get a brief explanation on how the French drains will be installed and how that'll work, Kevin.
I had a company out of London come in and they are looking to take the downspouts. They're looking to cut out chunks of the sidewalk and parts of the playground to run 6-inch PVC under the ground so that all the downspouts are going to tie into the 6-inch PVC, and they're going to run into the open lot in behind into the grassland, and that's where they'll install the two French drains to collect the water that is basically staying on the playground area with the kids.
Not fall there.
There's enough fall there, yes.
Thank you. That sounds like a solution. Councillor Haggett, please go ahead. Thank you for waiting there.
So did you get, was there quotes on that?
I did. I had a quote brought in from Greenland Irrigation, and there's another company, local company that's coming in to give me another quote on it.
Well, follow up, I'm a little confused. It's 3 years, it's a new building. Did anybody from the past administration, is there a reason why this wasn't done? And behind, I mean, we've got trouble with parking there too, because you have so much staff, there's not a whole lot for the people to even get their children. And then my understanding is we're cutting the curve so they can circle around. So I guess my question would be tomorrow, is that our road that the people that they can circle on, or is that subdivision on that road?
So I believe that a portion of Charlotte is ours up to that driveway on that first house there, but beyond that, and I'd have to look at the survey to know exactly where that location is, would be unassuming roads. It was newly constructed by the developer, right? But I do believe there is a section where that one driveway is ours. I don't know where the entrance falls in that area. But I'm not even sure who will be responsible to cut that curb and put that entrance in. Maybe the developers, maybe ours. I'll have to look at the agreement.
Well, I just thought that we'd have to have insurance, right? For them so-called, if it is on a road, we were gonna come out of there, right?
Sorry, we have to have.
Well, they're gonna circle around and come off that piece of Charlotte, right?
Yeah.
So that would be our road, so
We'd have to confirm that the entrance would be on our section or the unassumed section.
that's what I mean.
Yeah, it will be ours once it's assumed.
Okay.
So I'm thinking it's probably best we wait till it assumes the road before we get any work done.
Okay. Yes, Councillor McGill.
I was gonna ask about that, back entrance from the daycare. Because I do remember when we were showing the original plans, there was supposed to be a back entrance out onto Charlotte. And at that time we were told, well, when the subdivision gets done, then that'll get put in. But maybe the subdivision people didn't know, and that's why they put the curb straight through. So I'm glad to hear that the back entrance is gonna get put in there like was originally planned.
Yeah. No, it's an obvious requirement. Yes, Councillor Vink.
I was looking at this report here and it says you were not properly connected to the underground system. What does that mean? Because from what I understand, you can't put sump pump water into the storm systems so I'm a little leery what this means.
Technically, there is no underground system.
Okay.
Yeah, the downspouts they all collect off the roof and they just pour right over the sidewalk, right into the playground area. There is no underground system, and that's the point of this project that I'm hoping to get done here is to create an underground system for them to drain into the French drains to be installed.
So if I could have a follow-up, so you're telling me, Kevin, is that engineer never even had a drainage situation there? Usually when you have engineer plans, you have a plan where the water's gonna go.
That is something I can't answer to. I wasn't here when it was built, so I can't answer that question.
I'm going to add that we can confirm that the senior staff person is responsible for the project at the time signed off on it. And Kevin wasn't here, obviously I wasn't here. It wasn't, the surface water drainage wasn't planned, right? And like any private residence, this business is suffering from unplanned surface water and it needs to be solved.
Yes, Councillor Haggett.
I'm not in favor of taking away the air arena. It's a finished project. It's the last thing that was done. And if we scroll down, there's some money in the fire budget. Maybe something else can wait. In my opinion. I don't know how everybody else feels, but I like this arena thing. Once the air fryer's in, the arena. And that's my feeling on it. It's been 4 years, we're over budget. Let's finish it and be done. Maybe we can take some of this extra 50,000 if it's over, and put it towards that.
Okay, it's
It's all
opinion.
on the same report, so I mean, that's my opinion. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, Councillor Stoldice.
Thank you. The question is for Jeff. I'm just wondering, do you want to approve these allocations individually or at the end try to approve it all? So I think there's going to be some disagreement on individual ones, and I just wondered if you want to do it step by step.
Yeah, and I'm looking at Kendra. I mean, I think the staff here can say whether or not we have to approve these today, or if you want us to explore other options, or you want to direct the treasurer to see if there's, this is competing priorities. Staff have identified for you where there are some redistributions to meet what we see as priorities. If council doesn't agree, we may have to do more research and report back to you.
Okay, yes, follow up. Go ahead.
I really see the daycare necessity and priority. That's why I would like to have it approved to make sure this gets taken care of.
Yeah.
So it doesn't get lost in the shuffle.
And we can direct additional monies or find additional monies to pick up what Councillor Haggett alluded to at another date and make sure that that doesn't fall off our radar.
So if I may, if we could perhaps, I think the clerk's getting ready to kind of break this out into individual motions if you wish. And again, if there's ones you want to approve today and you want us to take another look, like we can't make money out of nowhere here. The report was designed to put some choices in front of you to stay within the money that's allocated.
Okay. Is there a motion, Kendra, that we can solve this daycare issue? Yeah. Mark, did I miss you?
Well, I do kind of agree that if the daycare is a priority and probably the air fryer should be done, what is the proposed paving in the fire budget? Could we maybe take some money out of that and then we can fix the drainage at the daycare and do the air fryer both as well?
You, Kevin?
It's whatever council wishes right now. To finish that back part of Fire Hall came in at $89,000 and we had only budgeted for 75. So just the cost of goods has gone up. So it's whatever council wishes. I do have a quote also to take away some of the paving. I believe it would be the south side of the building could be eliminated and that would keep us in budget. So we wouldn't have to use any of the fire money to finish off the project.
Yeah. Mhm.
The back area in behind the fire hall. So basically where it was stopped to the back entrance and straight across, and just basically finishing everything off from the back entrance forward. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Councillor Troy has had her hand up for some time. Go ahead.
Thank you. To confirm, so that would go directly to the back of the parking lot or to the back, the whole back part of the fire department parking area?
That's correct. Yeah, it'll go all the way to the back entrance from the side road. So the far side of that back entrance, all the way up to where the paving had stopped.
And I have a follow-up.
Yes, go ahead, please.
I believe we were supposed to keep some of it gravel for training purposes. So maybe we could save some money, some costs that way, because I do, if I'm correct, I don't know, Chief's here, maybe he would know, but I do think there was supposed to be a training area.
There still is. there's still a pile of gravel parking lot will still be left on the other side of the entrance. So the back entrance doesn't go all the way to the far end of the parking lot. It comes across right about in the middle of the back parking lot, and then the back half stays gravel for training, and then the front half is all paved for the trucks to come in and out.
Okay. Well, Kendra, you chime in here if you have any suggestions in terms of separating these motions out, that we can identify exactly in priority what we're speaking about. If you could give the chair any assistance on that, we'd appreciate it. Okay, Mark, go ahead. Follow up.
Well, I think the heating at the fire department's a really important one too, but could you just tell us, Kevin, what you're proposing to do there for $112,600?
I'm actually waiting for one more quote to come in on that one. So that was the first quote that I had received as the final price. We're looking to, I guess, decommission the geothermal unit out back because there's some leakage in the parking lots where the pits, and it's creating pits. So before we pave the back, we have to get that taken care of, or it's going to create sinkholes in the asphalt parking lot. So it's kind of taking 2 steps back.
Yeah, follow up, Mark, please.
So then we wouldn't be using those wells out back at all? And then what would we have, like a gas-fired system, boiler system running the pipes under the fire hall?
Yeah, the wells would be decommissioned, and then we'd be looking to do a boiler system to still use the in-floor heating system of the fire hall. So the boiler system would just connect into it.
Sounds good.
Yes, Councillor Myers, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to be clear on the paving here, okay, the 75,000. How much can we get for 75,000? How far can we go? Like, I know the south side will probably not be done. Do you agree? Can we go to the open driveway there for 75,000? Or is it at the 90,000?
Yeah, Chief Johnson, if you'd like to handle that, you certainly can, or between you and Kevin.
I'm going to work in conjunction with Kevin because we've been on this project together. The original intent was to go all the way around the building. And when it came in over budget, this is where the suggestion to reallocate some funds came up. Then that project would be finished and you wouldn't have to revisit this paving again. There is some money there. You can see by the report that there are some areas where I don't feel we need to use it. I thought this was, I talked with Kevin, I talked with Kristen. We thought this was an appropriate reallocation of funds to make sure that this project is complete. And then that's done. You don't have to come back to the fire hall for paving.
Okay, Councillor Myers, you're satisfied? Go ahead, Councillor Haggett. Yep, that math is correct. Any comments from council? Jeff, any direction you can give us?
Yeah, so Kendra's got a resolution prepared there for you, which she can share. And I think what I just heard from that last question though is perhaps there's a couple of things that are time sensitive that you want to do right away. And then and if you could add that to that resolution you prepared, Kendra, and then the rest of it could be brought back with options by the treasurer.
Yeah,
Yes, so listening to discussion, it sounds like the Elm Daycare at the cost of 20,000. If we direct the treasurer to find options or bring forward different options for that. And then I would suggest deferring the rest of the items for a date that the treasurer can be here.
Okay, yep, Councillor Choi, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I agree with kind of moving forward with what we have here. I do think we need to put money into reserves for future projects. Have you received any quotes or have you started that process for the air fryer?
Yeah, I received quotes before budget, so I knew what I was budgeting for, and I budgeted for 25,000, and it comes in at 23.5.
Yep, go ahead.
So what I would suggest is to kind of move forward with what we have suggested in front of us and look for funding for the air fryer elsewhere to make sure that we still have it completed,
Yeah, we don't want to lose it.
but also finish the jobs that we need to finish.
Any response to that? Then we want to make traction on this. Yes, go ahead, Councillor Scholness, Deputy
Yeah,
Mayor.
thank you, Mayor Mayhew. I'd really like to get the treasurer's input on this. I know there's things that we do have to move forward on, but we're juggling money around here. And I would like to move forward with the daycare, but get a little bit more input on how this is going to affect everything else, because it seems to all kind of be blending together.
Just my question to Jeff and to Kevin is the time sensitivity of some of this stuff. I know the daycare has to be solved, and we realize when children are users of that facility, we want it right and we want it done. But can the others are they time sensitive in any way?
So I think that trailer is the other one I heard that was time sensitive was the trailer, and perhaps we want to move on those and leave the rest to get a plan for the treasurer. Is there any others to add to that? I'll just ask Kevin if the trailer and the daycare are the two time sensitive ones. Any others?
No, nothing sensitive.
Yeah, that gives us some traction, I think, going forward to address two issues that will help our staff and our children. And we will revisit this with our treasurer when she returns, and look forward to her expertise on finding money from various sources. Would someone move that? Yes, Councillor Scholdice, is there a seconder for that? Councillor Myers, and I'm just going to pause for a second. I'm going to allow our clerk to capture the two time sensitive issues, and that would be the daycare center and the utility trailer. Moved by Deputy Mayor Scholdice, seconded by Councillor Myers. Is there discussion? Councillor Haggett first, followed by Deputy Mayor Scholdice.
Where am I wrong? Why are we doing this now? $50,000 and they go for the pressure pump.
Yeah, I'm going to rely on Gary to answer that question from the fire perspective. Fire chief. Go ahead, Gary.
Yes, Councillor Haggett. Just to give you some information on the background of that 50,000. So that was originally put aside for direct capture diesel exhaust and a negative pressure bunker gear storage room that were both recommended by the master fire plan. As it turns out, I don't believe we need this direct capture diesel exhaust. So that's only a partial of the original project. I believe we're still going to have to build a negative pressure bunker gear room, but I think we have some time to put that off for a bit yet.
Well, that's my point. I mean, we budget every year, correct? I'm just saying, we stick with 75 grand, you still can look at the back south side next year paving, and we can cover all this and everything looked after and moved on, because that money's already in. But that's just my opinion, so thank you.
Yes, Councillor Troy.
Can you read the recommendation?
Yep, I'll get the clerk to do that. And just remind council too that we can, we can address this motion, and if there's any further motions that want for following this, council can deal with that as well. Councilor Hagan.
So my understanding from the motion is that council approves the recommended budget reallocations related to the recreation budget, so the trailer and the daycare drainage, and that the treasurer bring back options and council to find the monies for the air fryer, and that the treasurer bring back different options for the fire budget options that were in the report. That's how it stands right now.
Okay, and what we're doing, we're addressing the two time sensitive issues, but we're not letting the other two fall off the table. They will be on here and we'll deal. And I think all points, Councilor Hagan, you've made some good points there as well. And I think we'll make sure that we don't lose our vision on that. Deputy Mayor, go ahead.
Just a little sidetrack, but we're approving the trailers today. When we send the crew out, is it 2 at a time that goes out to cut grass, or is it 3 individuals? I'm just wondering if we're taking the 2 mowers out. I'm just worrying about the trimming. That we've got a lot of trimming to do around fences and whatnot. And I noticed, and this isn't a complaint at all because I know grass is growing like crazy right now. It's a full-time job. But some trimming is getting left behind. And that's what my concern is. If we're sending 2 people out with lawnmowers, how does the trimming?
Once our summer student arrives, they'll be, including with the watering the flowers, they'll be joining the grass crew, and the trimming will be kept up. Yeah.
Thank you. We look forward to that, and I've received some complaints as well on that, and it forwarded, going forward to recreation facilities. Okay, motion on the floor. It's been moved by Deputy Mayor Scholdice, seconded by Councilor Myers. Any further discussion? And that motion will as the principle of that motion is that there's 2 other issues that we will address in the very near term. I'll call the question. All in favor, raise your hand, please. Just Jeff, if you want to take account of that, we got 5 here. Okay. All opposed? 2. Motion's carried. And thank you, thank you, Clerk, for doing that. And in preparation for the meetings of the near future, you and Jeff can speak on that. The strong feeling council had on the other issues at hand that we wanted to address. With Kristen's help, the 3 of you, I'm sure, will find a solution. Okay, we have got recreation and facilities. Follow. Kevin, can you bring us up on the Simpson Street fence?
Yes, in a past meeting, council had asked staff to look at some pricing and some options to replace the fence on the property line of a neighboring property there at Simpson Park. So after having a company come in, do some pricing to replace the first 200 feet of that fence came in at $12,400, which we are not budgeted for. It came in, the request came in after budget had already been passed.
Okay, any discussion from council on this? Yes, Councilor Myers first, his hand went up, followed by Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I looked at this fence and it's in pretty bad shape, but if we don't have the money in the budget, then maybe we'll have to look at it next year. My opinion.
Okay, Councilor Myers or Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. I just wondered, would you like a motion to approve that we bring it forward in the 2025 budget?
We can. I have some additional information I'd like to give.
Okay.
Prepared, Kevin, but there's nothing wrong with that. And in the context of what council has previously approved, both those statements made are certainly in order. Is it necessary for me to give up the gavel? I better. You sure? Okay. I looked at that fence. That fence is 393 feet long. And the section of fence on the west side going west to east is the 200 feet as mentioned are quite in quite bad shape. I look very often, instead of looking to the west for pricing or the north, I look, or the east and the north, I look west towards Chatham, and I find the Chatham trades are very good and they're extremely skilled, and sometimes they're more competitive than the London market. And I contacted one company that has done a lot of municipal work. In fact, they've done the playground in Newbury, and they're looking at a top end of $40 a linear foot. And I'm wondering if our guys cannot pull out that fence. If we can cut that fence off those posts, go in with a front end loader, pull those posts, and you know, grade the sight line. The neighbors that border the municipal land are extremely good people to work with. Like they're very cooperative. The municipality will find them, you know, a joy to work for in terms of a line that's on private property and public property. I think you'll find them very receptive to any suggestion they do. We're looking at $30 to $40 a linear foot, and if we help them out, that cost will be reduced. I've chatted with them; they're willing to work at the municipality, and you know, we can bring that down to $6,000 to $8,000 if the information I was given today was correct. And I'm wondering if this should go back to facilities and some additional inquiries made. And again, Morrill might be in this conversation as well. Can our guys get engaged, and girls get engaged on that and take that fence up? I think many of us around here have taken fence up at times, and it could be done by our own staff, and you know, we're paying them anyway to cut down some of this cost. You weren't using your staff in that quote. This company were coming in and doing all the work. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, the company I figured,
yeah,
they were the fencing people. I just figured I'd leave them to the fencing people.
Yeah. Well, is my request crazy, Kevin? No, can you supervise such an effort by your staff, or have you got the staff to facilitate that and get engaged? And Morrill, some of your men may be involved in this too. It's 200 feet pulling a fence.
Yeah, that's definitely something that the manager of community services I can definitely look into. It all depends on the timing of the year too, and how much staff that we have. Something we can certainly look into.
Okay, fit it in. Yep. Councillor Scholes, Deputy Mayor, please go ahead.
Councillor Choi.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, Councillor Choi.
Thank you.
Sorry, I missed you.
No, that's okay. My concern would be warranty and liability. Once a fence is constructed, I do think it's correct to allow the people to install that they know what they're doing. And I would second bringing it forward to the 2025 budget.
Okay. The company I talked to are a fully insured company, and the municipality is fully insured, and we're looking at industrial galvanized fencing here, and the anchor post at the 193 foot mark is available as straight as an arrow. So, you know, we can use the two anchor posts from the middle of that fence to the west end or the east end. So I don't think we'd be endangered in liability. We'd be certainly covered. Yes. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. I think our people are able to bring the equipment and pull those posts. Don't you think, Bob?
Yeah, I'm not saying that we can't. I just, like, if it's this time of year right now when we're doing gravel and we're really short staffed, it might be a little challenging. It just depends on the time of the year and how soon we can get the work done. I'm not saying that we can't do it. Just, you know, just need a little more information. But
go ahead. Follow up.
I would think it's a fall project, right? The park's got to be finished.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that would fall under the fall part, which is a better time for expanding up the
Yeah,
project.
I think that's a good point, and they're looking at the timeline on the work that will be done on the park is fall as well. Councillor Myers.
Are we just looking at the 200 feet?
Yep.
Because on UNAV, there's a tree the size of this room, and the fence is right in it. So, and it doesn't look all that good.
Yeah.
So,
There's always a, public outcry when you start cutting down trees, things of that nature, but,
take the fence out of the tree.
yeah, yeah. But, it is straight and it is, and you know, it keeps dogs, kids, you know, you don't get anyone coming across property and that, the fence does serve a purpose, yeah. Any further questions? Yeah. Whereas on the west end, the fence is all on the ground spots, it's completely done. Yeah. Deputy Mayor.
Thank
Go
you,
ahead.
Mayor Mayhew. I did state that we should maybe delay this until the 2025 budget, but could in the interim, could we also just defer this report until we get a little bit more information? I like the idea of using or having staff do the cost savings. I just
Some
wondered-
of the work, yeah, not
some
all of it.
of the work. And I just wondered if we could get another
Mhm.
report back in the future
Okay.
with a little bit more of that information.
Okay, and I can share that the information I received today with Kevin. Kevin, could we send this back for a second go? See what we can find? And you'll have to work with Kristen on that because it still is not a budgeted item. And what we're trying to do here, Council, is to get this down to a manageable amount that we can perhaps find the money. But if we can't find the money, then it's certainly going to be a 2025 project. Okay, I need a motion and a seconder. What's your wish? Have we?
I'm not sure.
Have we got a motion on the floor? Okay.
We don't.
Okay, all right, that, the report go back and Kevin in that, recreation facilities investigate, the practicality of, having our staff remove and grade the area. And we acquire, galvanized fencing. Does that fencing have to be at 4 feet or is there a standard we have to meet? Is 4 feet high enough or do you have to go 5?
I believe 4 is fine.
Okay, that's good. Well, yeah, because the prices I got, Kevin, were on 4 feet, but industrial galvanized, and I can send Kevin that contact, and it'll come back to council. Councilor Myers? Okay, thank you. Motion on the floor. Welcome discussion. Okay, we're going back for a second hit at this. And we'll certainly have to, we can't spend money that's not budgeted for, so we'll see if we can find. We'll bring Kristen into the conversation with you. All in favor? Motion's carried unanimously. Thank you, Kevin, for that. We appreciate that very much. Okay. Okay, council, we're on to number 9 on the agenda. There's no notice of motions that have been given to council. Kendra's shaking her head there, so we can bypass that. Correspondence and petitions. There are some tile loans which are recoverable costs. Recommendations before you. The names are only referred to as a number. The recommendations of the council approve the loan application for the property 39060 000 8800 in the amount of $50,000 for that tile loan. Is there a mover and a seconder? Don McCollum has moved it. Councilor McCollum, Councilor Vink has seconded it. Discussion? All in favor? Carried. And in addition to that, there is another property that has applied for a loan on the property in terms of replacing tile, identified as 39,060,000, 109,000 in the amount of $50,000. Is there a mover and a second for that? Councilor McGill, Councilor McCollum, all in favor? It's carried. Unfinished business. I don't believe there's any. Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong. New business. Deputy Mayor, you wanted to bring up a request by the Lions Club. Certainly we'll entertain that under new business now if you'd like.
Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. I was asked last night at the bingo if I could bring this forward by some of the members. I think they've had some discussion with Kevin about making some purchases for the kitchen. And I think what they're looking for is just sort of a loose commitment that if there is any events staged there that they could run the kitchen. And they're looking to invest thousands of dollars in upgrades, and they're just looking for that kind of commitment that they can then utilize what they're putting in there. And that's not written in stone. If somebody else has an event they want to, all they have to do is discuss it with the Lions, and we're more than agreeable to step back. But just so that when there is an event, we could get the first option, what we're looking for. And then if they could, they would like to go ahead and move forward with these purchases.
Okay, I think that's with the gavel, again, I think there's a certain dependability with Lions Club that we know we can count on them, and we know it'll be done right. And they are community minded, and they certainly would entertain giving that territory to another organization should they want to run it for a particular event. Is there this, and I think, Jeff, will some type of written agreement have to be made on that if this is a longer term arrangement? Kendra? Yeah, Kevin? Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I've been working on right now. I've been referring to other municipalities that have agreements with other nonprofit groups. So I just want to make sure it's good for both of us on both ends so that there's no loose ends. So we're just working on right now, having an agreement, and I'll sit down with the Lions, let them read over it, then we can agree on it, and then we can sign off on that.
Yeah. Well, I think instead of defer, why don't we ask Facilities and Recreation to come back with a recommendation on the Lions Club so that it is on the to-do list, and then we can proceed with it if you agree with that, Deputy Mayor. Okay. So we want the instruction then would be to request that the manager of recreation put together an agreement with the Lions Club indicating their desires to run a facility out of the room and make those investments on necessary capital investments that are required, and that in that contract other nonprofits will not be forgotten should the opportunity arise. Instruct Kevin to come back with the agreement to council. Or Jeff, I can use your help on this. What do you think?
Yeah, I think staff have heard the content you'd like. We'll just have a recommendation and Kevin bring an agreement back for council's consideration.
Sounds good. Will you move that, Deputy Mayor? And is there a second for that? Councilor Haggett, any concerns? There was some disappointment when that arena was made that there was not a cafeteria because we were concerned, but there is all new stainless facilities in there. There is fire suppression in there as well. So we would look forward if we can come up with a suitable arrangement, Kevin. It would be great. Bit of a legacy you can leave. It's done right. Okay, any questions? Last call. All in favor? Carried. Council, is there any other unfinished business? I don't believe any other was directed when the agenda was approved. County Council and conference updates. Again, appreciated Warden's beat here and the CAO Bill Rayburn. Any announcements council wish to make in their wards? Yes, Mark, please go ahead.
I guess I'll mention our church barbecue June 1st. I've got tickets if anybody wants any.
Okay. Thank you, Mark. I picked up a couple. Okay. Council, what's on the agenda is a recommendation that we go into closed as per section 239(2) of the Municipal Act 2001 to consider the following: for advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose, and for advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose. Is there a mover and a seconder for that? Councillor Choi, thank you. Seconder for that, Councillor Vink. Discussion? Yep. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the latest version of the agenda also has going into close for section D, which is labor relations and employee negotiations.
Thank you very much. When did that edition come out?
Last night.
Last night, okay. Okay, we add that to, the motion. The parties are still, Councillor Troy, Councillor Vink. I'm sure that you still, support that. I'll call the question. All in favor? Motion is carried. I'll gladly hand the gavel over